Now, moving on to our next session for the day, we are going to speak about, or we are going to have a session about fostering cultural effectiveness through dynamic learning, HR strategies for enhanced organizational growth and adaptability. For this, I would like to invite Mr. Naganagouda S J, CHRO Tally Solutions Private Limited. Mr. Naganagouda have built, upscaled and driven sustainable HR ecosystems and anchored organizational change for 20 plus years. His experience sprawls across sustaining established brands, handling multicultural talent in international forays, as well as setting up an entire HR function, including people, processes, policies, and tools, and running it successfully. So, folks, can we please put our hands up together and welcome Mr. Naganagouda on the dais?
Good morning. Can we have a good morning? Good morning. Slightly better. I'm just landed from madness to thoughtfulness and mindfulness. I spent 1 hour 30 minutes in Bangalore traffic, covering 13 kilometers to reach Taj residency. You know what is special today? Anybody? Of course, we are having a gain skills workshop. Other than that, any idea? Googling is not allowed. Actually, today is celebrated as the National Thoughtful Day. Such a wonderful day to have a session of thoughtfulness in this August audience. It is also a great day where the American history was rewritten. On this very day, Martin Luther King Jr. made his famous speech, "I have a dream." 200,000 people walked to Washington, D.C. to create a revolution. So I believe people in this room, the HR leaders, are here with a dream in their mind and hearts to acquire knowledge and then go make that dream a reality. Are we all good? I think half the room is good. All right, okay. I understand. How are you feeling today? Great? I think one person is feeling great. Fantabulous. If we have to be amazing, how will you respond to me? It's okay to be a normal all the time. You don't know how good you will be if you decide to be amazing. What is the best way of representing yourself in an amazing way? Can you all clap for all of us? Loud. See, the mantra for HR people is either convince or confuse. If you can't both, keep clapping. Right? So it's important for us to drive energy, enthusiasm, excitement in whatever we do in our respective organizations. So today my subject is more on culture. It's very close to my heart. Culture and learning. Whether culture drives the business growth or the learning drives the business growth or both together drives the business growth. In the next 15 minutes we will decide. Yeah? Right. What is the most important skill in life today? The most important. We may ignore this statement, but I must tell you, learning to learn is the most fundamental, vital skill for all of us today. Because most of us have kind of forgotten how to learn. Because we think we have degrees, we have titles, and we have conquered everything in life. So fundamental to everything in life is to learn, is the biggest skill of the 21st century that we need to develop in our respective organizations. Now the question that I have for all of you, before I go to the question, I wanted to present our world today. The world that we live is a very, very scary world. We have spoken so much. Today every session has something or the other about AI. If you don't talk about AI, you don't exist in this world today. Right? So it's a very scary word in my view. I don't know where we're heading. But very dynamic, interconnected VUCA, or you call whatever Bani or whatever. The world has become extremely, very, very complex. And change, as we speak, change is happening. Are you with me? Change is so rapid, at the speed of thought, not the speed of light. It's my very, very powerful and favorite statement. Disruption has become the order of the day. Okay, if you are doing a traditional HR role, okay, fair enough. What else can you do? What disruption can you bring to the organization? So disruption is the normal today. We are not the decision makers in the current context of work environment, of the market that we have. Employees are driving the decisions today. Are you with me? Yeah? If an employee decides to take off completely all of them, what will happen? Yeah? So God will help us. Now today we are talking about either employment versus employability. Right? We live in an era of abundance. We have a huge human capital. But skilled are very few. Employable are very few. I'm sure all of you have read various reports. The percentage of employability in our academic framework today is very, very low. So it's question about employment versus employability. Talent versus talented in same breath. We have abundant talent, but talented are very, very few. Finger countable, I would say. Today we are talking about skill set versus mindset. If you have the right mindset, if you have the right will, skill can be acquired. So we live in a very, very scary world, but what choice we have? Change is not by chance. Are we all game for change? The question is, if you are ready, half the battle is won. Don't leave it to chance. Okay? You must make the right choice to transform yourself. Now, in this context, I'll ask you a question on what is culture. What is the culture of this room today? Any question, please? What is culture according to you? Anybody? Collective energy, thoughts, feelings, behaviors, attitude, smell of the workplace. Have you heard of this? There's a nice video. I would encourage all of you during the break. Please Google on YouTube or on YouTube itself, smell of the workplace. It's an 8-minute video. I would have presented it to you because I have only 15 minutes to show. So please explore smell of the workplace. It's a wonderful video. It will tell you what culture is. Okay. So now I will try to help you what culture is. The fundamental foundation of a great culture is what? Do I trust you? Do you trust me? Trust is the foundation of all great beginnings. You must have a great trust among your employees, among your team members, among your leadership, and the society that you live in. The company that I work for, if I tell you, we trust our employees so much that we don't have CCTV. We don't have attendance. We don't have leave approval for people. You apply leave, auto-approved. That is investing in trust. If you gain the trust of the people, half the battle is won. Are you with me? Making sense? So, it's people who create or who destroy culture in the organization. Today while coming, I was reading. The need of the hour today is to eliminate toxicity in the environment. If somebody has a great solution, that will be the best solution and that will get maximum funding. Somebody has written on the X platform. I'm saying, who creates toxicity? Why create a problem and find a solution? Right? So the question is, can you build a culture with trust where people create, nurture, and build great cultures in the organization, right? And culture is actually the container of everything, including strategy. Because if you don't have a good culture, you may have great pay, you may have great work environment, great freebies, everything will fall flat. culture is very, very core to every success in every part of the world. It's actually, like you said, is a sum of total of all behaviors, attitude, values, and everything else that we do. In my view, I cannot explain culture to you. You have to experience culture. Are you with me? Right? When you walk into a place, you can actually figure out what is the culture of the place. You have to experience it. No matter how many wonderful words you will bring in, it will not create unless you experience it. Culture is touch and feel. And like I said, I go back to the same video. It's a very old video, Smell of the Workplace. It's beautifully explained. Okay? And good culture is about creating a healthy, positive, energetic environment where most important element is talent is nurtured. Talent is not tortured. Talent is nurtured, right? And creativity is appreciated. Last one is, you must celebrate both success and failures in equal share. Because the fear of failure is so much in our environment today, people don't take risk, people don't take chances, people don't make any efforts to work on certain things that they would like to work on. So we must build this culture. So now, on all this about culture, it's not an initiative. Culture is not an initiative. It's not about decorating the walls of the organization. It's not about making a nice video. It's about building holistic. It's the mother of all initiatives. It's very, very important. It is an enabler of all the initiatives. Don't make culture an initiative. Because culture is very, very core. Right. Now, if I have to explain culture in my simple language, what culture is what you celebrate in an organization, okay, and what you invest in, and what you tolerate, and what you hush up. Where do you find the gossips in the organization? Anybody? Pantry, right? Water coolers, water cans, right? The question is, are we able to do all these things and then be mindful of our actions? We should figure out what we celebrate will become a culture. What we tolerate will also become a culture. I'm sure all of you understand the great performance management system that we keep talking about for the last, at least I have spoken about for the last 27 years of my HR career. If you decide to tolerate non-performance, if you decide to tolerate insubordination, disobedience, you tolerate breach of integrity, you tolerate breach of trust, that becomes your culture. Because that is accepted, no? Right? When you are in the traffic signal, when it is red, you are not wearing helmet is on the hand, and nobody is watching, and then you go. When one person goes, 3 other people also follow him, because it is accepted. Right? What we tolerate. Then, the best things, the best kept secrets are discussed in the pantry. The day you give opportunity for pantry corridor conversations, that tells the culture of the organization. So it's very, very important, and how you invest in people is also a question of what is your culture. Do you invest in building people, human capital, intellectual capital? Very, very essential. So in simple terms, what we celebrate, what we invest, what we tolerate, and what we hush up. So if you are able to classify and visualize yourself what your culture is encompassing, and look within yourself, in your organizations, try to put them under these 4 buckets, go back to whiteboard and say, hey, this is what it is. We must eliminate this to build a great culture. Are you with me? Once you have a great culture, everything will happen automatically. We don't have to supervise anybody. Right? Are you with me? Culture need not, our great man Peter Drucker said, culture eats strategy for breakfast. I'm actually challenging this statement today. You don't have to eat strategy for breakfast, buddy. Huh? Can we coexist? Can we collaborate to build a thriving culture where leveraging the power of learning, can we build a great organization is the question that I'm asking. Yeah? So far so good? Nobody sleeping? Right. Now, building a learning culture for business success. So how do you build? Has anybody heard saying that I am tired of learning? Have you heard of this statement? Learning will never tire your mind. It will only rekindle, reignite your hunger for more. Not hunger for lunch or breakfast, hunger to acquire more knowledge, right? So keep the learning engine continuously on 24/7. Even when you're sleeping, your body learns to rest and give you recover, right? So learning never tires the mind of the individual. Now, in a nutshell, in one screen, I'm showing you how learning has evolved over the decade or so, 2 decades, right? So we have come from a manual classroom learning all the way to intelligent learning, hyper-personalization, super-personalization, bite-sized learning, learning on the go, and so on and so forth. I don't want to get into talking about LMSs, EdCast, LinkedIn learning. The content everywhere is available. All of us know this. But the idea is how learning has evolved for us to understand what we need to focus on, where we need to focus on, and how we need to make learning as a part of our culture. So it's very, very important. So we have moved from 2022 to moving into intelligent learning. I will talk to you in the next few slides in terms of how it has changed. Now you are dealing with this new rare breed of talent in the organization. More than 60% of our workforce today is what? Gen Z? Yeah? Agree with me? And these 21st century learners are very, very different people. Many of them are in this room as well. Please don't take me wrong. The idea is they are very, very different. Their patterns are different, their habits are different, their styles are different, their approach is very different. So this slide will talk to you about how do you build the right mindset. And it's also as good as building the right skill set. If you have the right mindset among this Gen Z, they will have the right skill sets. That's the essence of this slide. Now, this is just 30 seconds for you to absorb, because these are the digital era of learning. And there are different elements available for you to build content, create content, curate content, and how do you build great learning experience in your own organizations and so on and so forth. Slides will be available, I'll share with all of you. Now, using learning and the culture together to build a growth strategy. This is the current affairs of organizational growth. Nearly 40% of the organization workforces today in India needs reskilling or upskilling to remain relevant. Are you with me? But learning will definitely, I believe, will drive business growth and results. We have what a new disease called ADS. What is ADS? Attention Deficiency Syndrome. It is stated that your attention needs to be recalibrated for every 7 minutes. It is my job today, within 14 minutes, I have to hook on to all of you. Every 7 minutes, I have to reconnect with you. That is the reality of life, whether we like it or not, right? So, how do we keep the learning very quick, effortless, on the go, all the time? It's very, very important. It's a strategic partner in building intellectual. Many people, they want to create great organization. You know what they will do? They will build great buildings. They will build great infrastructure, decorate the walls. But the most vital is intellectual infrastructure is very much required. How are we investing in building intellectual infrastructure is the most biggest and vital mantra for building growth for the organization. The will and skills are the armory for the new world, and it goes without saying. Now, the trends of the learning, the past, the recent past, and the future, I think the future is all about physical, digital, personalized, hyper-personalized, and so on and so forth. This again for your reference. I'm running out of time. With all this, we have one bottleneck, which is, I can't do this. We believe and we think there are limits. I'll tell you a story from my village. I come from a small village in a remote part of Karnataka in the northern area, where there were 2 children, about 6-7 years old children, had gone to play in the fields. And there was a well. One fellow fell into the well. Okay? The other fellow, rather than running for help, he did something miraculous. He figured out a mechanism to pull the boy out of the well. When they both went back home and narrated the story, they said, how did you do it? I just did it. If there were some people you can't do it, possibly the boy would have died. Are you with me? Please don't discourage. Best we can do is to encourage people to take up some transformational stuff and don't think there are limits and think that you are a possibility. It's nothing called impossible. I am a possibility. Okay? Create curiosity in everybody in the organization. That will really help and make things very, very inclusive. Now the strategy, this is the crux of the presentation. And I have created something called a 4C model for driving learning and driving business growth and driving growth through culture and learning. It's simple. Create commitment from leadership, from individuals, from teams and managers. You must get a commitment to ensure that, look, learning is your responsibility. Learning is my mantra. Learning is the lifeline of the organization. Just make that commitment. Make it public. Enough and more times you have to communicate. Next is the communication element. Communication, I have a simple rule for all of us. There is nothing called confidential in the organization. Okay? Here is a mantra for you. 95% of the time, 95% of the people should know 95% of the information. Only 5% of the information on a need-to-know basis will be shared with people. Are you with me? If you create seamless communication, people are well informed. No corridor conversation, no coffee conversation, no pantry conversation. Everything is seamless. It's open out there. Everybody knows what is happening in the company. You don't have to worry. You don't have to gossip. Kill the gossip big time. Enhance communication. That is the best way to build a very, very robust, inclusive organization. Lifelong learning is a skill, survival of the fittest, and survival of the success. You must communicate success stories. I'll tell you one story. When I joined Mindtree in 1999, when we were about 50 people, we had one boy who joined us 10th pass as a system admin guy. His job was to lift the desktop. Those days we had CRT monitors, we had CPU and we had keyboard. They'll come in 3 parts. His job was to shift them from one place to other place. Cut a story short, 20 years into life, you know what he is today? He is the CIO of an organization. Success stories needs to be told to people. You must narrate stories. Cultivate collaborative learning, peer learning, community learning, building a growth mindset, and learning from unusual sources. This is very powerful, just 30 seconds. We can learn from each other because we know our traits very well. What can we learn from a lawyer? What can we learn from a heart surgeon? What can we learn from a theater artist? What can we learn from a nurse? What can we learn from a traffic cop who is there on the signal here? So there is enormous knowledge within us. Introduce something called learning from unusual sources. Bring different flavors into the learning environment. And people will love it. The room will be jam-packed, I can assure you. Very, very important. Last one, to conquer. You can conquer business growth if you do these 3 together. Right? So next is, you will build agility, you will build ability, you will build adaptability in the organization. And being relevant in the tech world, you have to communicate to everybody that learning ownership is on you as an individual. Organization and the culture, I can play the role of a catalyst only. I can't force the horse to drink water. I can take the horse to the water. But job of learning is on individuals. Very, very important. And all this will help you to stay ahead of the competition. Because competition is so fierce today that you have to beat the competition. Now, last slide in a nutshell, 4C plus. Unblock all forms of communication. Speak up and wake up. You must speak up for the right cause. Encourage people to speak up. Encourage people to wake up and then take actions. Take necessary steps to do corrections. I'll give another example. Every organization has this exit door, right? We had a lot of accidents in the exit door. What pantry was behind the exit door, and the guy will come with a tray full of teacups, and somebody will push the door and tea it down the drain, right? We had an idea of where people will come and speak up and wake us up. They gave us an idea, said, why don't you make a small frame in the door with the glass? Simple idea. Saved a lot of money, effort, energy, and happiness you created, right? So simple things. You should be able to encourage people to speak up and wake up. Very, very important. Suggest and support. Some people forget suggestions. Nobody will even go and send you an email because they know that it will come on their head. You better don't talk. Please don't hit the messenger. Have a dialogue, support them, suggest them, work together, make things happen. Okay? Responsive and action oriented, very, very important. So my dear friends, in a short 15 minutes time, I moved from madness to mindfulness to thoughtfulness, to building great culture, to building how learning can really make things happen in the organization. And all of you also are here today to learn from each other, right? I know something, you know something, we can know many things together. So build learning and culture. My strong belief is culture is the lifeline of the organization. Culture is the foundation of the organization. And for all this to happen, invest heavily on building great trust in the organization. So on that note, I conclude my session. Thank you so much for your attention. I really appreciate a great audience. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Naganagouda. I would like to invite Mr. Anuj Saxena to felicitate Mr. Naganagouda.